Of Drew Lock, Geno Smith, and Jacob Eason as their quarterback options following their loss of Russell Wilson. There were rumors that they could be interested in Baker, but a trade never came together. And Pete Carroll said the team is keeping their options open, but he doesn't envision them adding anyone to their quarterback room this year.
We're always competing. I'm not saying anything you didn't think I was going to say, but fortunately that's always been the way we've operated, and it fits again. So we're looking. I don't see us making a trade for anybody at all. I don't see that happening. But we're certainly going to continue to be open to the chances to help our club, and meanwhile we're just going to be battling and competing our tails off. But that there's always possibilities, so we keep open to that.
Now, Seattle is too smart. Pete's too smart to think Drew Lock and Geno Smith are going to beat the Rams, Arizona, Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
They know this. So Seattle has driven me nuts the last several years, but I thought they had a great free agent, great draft. That was as good a draft the Seahawks has had in years. They're rebuilding their offensive line, their tackles, their running game. I think it's the thing to do. What Seattle is doing is clearing the decks. Dwayne Brown will probably be gone. Bobby Wagner gone. Russell gone. They'll re-sign DK Metcalf because you need a star. And what they're going to do is be really bad for a year, get either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. There's 6 quarterbacks that will be drafted in the first round in that category. So Seattle is going to be one of the bottom 6 or 7 teams in the league. All those teams do not need quarterbacks. If Davis Mills is good for the Texans, because they won't be a great team, but a lot of people think they may buy into Davis Mills, cross them off the list. Giants will go get another quarterback. We know that. But we're getting to a saturation point. Pittsburgh just drafted Kenny Pickett.
Yep.
So, there's maybe New Orleans if Taysom Hill and Jameis don't work. So Seattle's got to, I always say this, if you're going to be bad, have a plan.
Yeah.
They absolutely do, and I think it's the right plan.
And it seems like they know what they're doing this year. They're going to run it with Drew Lock. We know what he is. We've seen what he's done. He's not going to transform a franchise. According to Fox Bet Sportsbook, as we were talking about before, Seattle's over-under is at 6.5 games. So everyone knows what they're going to be this year. And hopefully they get someone next year. All right, let's move to Baker Mayfield's future, who is still in limbo as he waits for a trade from the Browns. The options are limited with very few teams still on the quarterback market. And during the draft, Carolina was talking with Cleveland about acquiring him, but the two sides never got close to a deal. The issue was reportedly that neither team wanted to pay the majority of his nearly $19 million salary for the 2022 season. Now, sadly, Baker created this unfortunate situation with how he reacted to another unfortunate situation. Now, the thing is, the only thing we have control over is how you react to something.
Right.
And everyone sees how you react. It's a show of your character, and it reflects who you are as a person. Yeah. And he did not react well.
Yeah, I mean, Baker tends to be somebody that he wants the final word on stuff, and sometimes you have to fall on the sword and just eat it. And that's not his personality. For years I've believed he's a linebacker playing quarterback. Linebackers, he's a cornerback. He's a receiver playing quarterback where he's impulsive, he's very emotional, and there is real value. Jay Cutler was like this. He would just tell you what he thought in the moment. There's real value at this position to just sometimes not say what you think. You don't have to show me on Twitter what you're eating for breakfast. I don't want to see it. And I don't need to hear what you think when you're upset as a quarterback. Just internalize it, scream at home, but too often he reacts to things and it just lets it fly. And everybody sees that, and it's combative, and people don't want combative quarterbacks. They just don't want them.
And a perfect example of how to handle an unfortunate situation was how Jimmy G handled the situation this year. They drafted his replacement. They were talking about how he's going to get traded almost the entire season. He showed up, he did his job, and he brought the team to the playoffs.
If Jimmy Garoppolo didn't have the surgery, he'd be traded.
Yeah.
Multiple teams would take Jimmy because you can bend him into your culture. Baker is his own culture.
And he's talked about now how hard this last season was, but he still showed up to work every day, and he gave it his best effort. All right, moving on. The Colts were knocked out of the postseason with a brutal loss to the Jaguars in the last game of the year. Carson Wentz did not play well, but it may not have mattered for his future in Indy. Colts GM Chris Ballard said making the playoffs would not necessarily have guaranteed Wentz a spot on the team in 2022.
I think we still would have had some hard discussions. Just the way we played down the stretch, we knew we needed to make some improvements in that area. And look, the one thing I think Jim and I and Frank, we're all pretty good at is like when we know something's not a good fit, don't just try to justify it. Let's move forward. We all know we're going to get egg on our face. That is what it is. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's about doing the right thing for the organization. So I think even if we would have ended up in the playoffs, we would have had some hard discussions going forward.
Well, Matt Ryan's a good acquisition. I liked it.
And the sign of a good business is knowing when something's not working, acting facts, and fixing it.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's a business deal.
Yeah, don't double down on stuff if it doesn't work. Bail quickly, move on, create clarity, fix it.
Done.
Alex with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd
has a massive national following, is 9th. Tom Brady's number 1 with Tampa. That doesn't even have a national brand. So it's crazy to me. It really is. His ability, and I think a lot of it is, I mean, here's what's even nuttier. In New England, his last several years, when that offense got really boring, he was number 1 or number 2. Didn't everybody after 17 years have a Tom Brady Patriot jersey? Didn't everybody? Like, I get Tampa the first year. But and by the way, the NBA ratings have spiked this year, and LeBron's not in them. And I believe a lot of it is LeBron fatigue, is that the NBA is very good at introducing new stars. We like new stories, and there's so many fun young players that the NBA ratings are up without LeBron. Brady remains a huge TV draw. The biggest draw in the league is the Cowboys. The second biggest draw in the league, I think, is Brady. So is some of this, I think, and I just conjecture here, he's looser, he's funnier, he's more likable, he's embraced sort of social media. But even social media has some limitations. People who are rock stars on Twitter get TV shows and nobody watches. So Twitter has absolute limitations. There's very little crossover, Twitter to real life. It's fascinating to me that the quarterback for Dallas is 6th. For the Packers, he's a rock star, is 9th. And he still sells more jerseys than Patrick Mahomes, who's a much more dynamic quarterback, more fun, great personality. Everybody loves him. He's an endorsement stud. Brady has just worn incredibly well. And you just don't get that a lot. Like, there's usually, you see this in the NBA. After about 6 or 7 years, people get tired of a dynasty, right? Like, the reason that the Laker Magic dynasty lasted so long and was so popular for so long is simultaneously there was a Celtics dynasty. So it would go back and forth, good guy, bad guy, left coast, right coast, Magic, Bird. So they didn't dominate forever. It was like some years it was a Magic year. Some years it was a Bird year. And so there was this constant struggle between the two. So that one lasted like 12 years, and the NBA flourished. The ratings were huge. But, I think people were starting to tire after like 2 championships of Durant, Steph, and Clay. By after the second championship, there was a fatigue. Okay, we're over this. Shaq and Kobe, I think, could have lasted longer simply because Shaq was such a gigantic personality and such a unique body type, and he was doing movies. He was everything. But Brady has lasted now 22 years. In the last 20, he's been a rock star and still is beating Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, there's no end in sight. It's rare. Alex with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line.